Oh, shall we begin?
Why not?
Why not?
All right, let's do it.
7:20.
7:20. Start on time. There are those people that feel after Shavuos, they feel a little sad. They feel that maybe they didn't use the opportunity to come close to Hashem the way they should have. Maybe they didn't study Torah as hard as well as they could have, and they feel very sad. They may feel a little depressed. So Melech Biderman says, you needn't feel sad. There were certain korbanos, sacrifices, that were brought on every holiday. And let's say for some reason you couldn't get to Jerusalem, so you have 7 days to make up the sacrifices. So we have, if we would have had a temple, when you had to bring a korban, you had to bring a sacrifice for Shavuos, you still have 7 days to bring the sacrifice after Shavuos.
How do you do a sacrifice here?
Oh, we can't. We don't.
You can't.
We only do it in Jerusalem when we had a temple. So back in the times of the temple, let's say you were in New Jersey on business in the times of the temple, and you weren't able to get there for Shavuos.
Right.
You had 7 days to get back to still bring the sacrifice.
Is there anything here that could take the place of it?
No, you can't. You can't do sacrifices unless you're in Jerusalem. The only thing that we can do that's sort of like a sacrifice is daven. Is to daven, praying is in place of sacrifices. But the point is that you have 7 days to make up the sacrifice, and you see from that 7 days after Shavuos still has some of the holiness of the holiday. So he says, even though Shavuos is over, we shouldn't feel depressed if we didn't use the opportunity, because we still have an opportunity. Because during the week after Shavuos, you could still bring a sacrifice. So that means the holiness of Shavuos hasn't totally left us yet. That's why we don't say Tachnan this week. That's why we don't say, right?
We don't say Tachnan in the morning?
We don't say Tachnan. We don't say Tachnan in the morning or the afternoon. The reason is because there's still several days to bring the sacrifice.
How long is that going on for?
There's different customs. Everyone, I'm not sure what the shul does. In school, we're still not saying it.
I messed up. I think I said it.
It's okay.
It's okay?
You didn't know.
I didn't know.
But there's a rabbi. We don't paskin like this. But every holiday you make a special bracha of Shehachianu, thanking Hashem that we are here for such a special day. So there's a rabbi that holds that you can still make the Shehachianu, the special bracha for Shavuos, even now, even after the holiday is over, because you could still bring that replacement sacrifice.
What's the special bracha?
Shehachianu, right? We say Shehachianu v'kiyamanu v'hiyanu lazman hazeh.
And you do that every morning?
Every holiday we do that. No, not every morning, just every holiday.
Every holiday.
Right, so we do a Pesach, Sukkot, and Shavuos. But the thing is that this rabbi, the Chok Yaakov, holds that you could still make the bracha even after Shavuos is over, because we still have the holiness of Shavuos.
So I can't say it after Shavuos.
No, practically we don't do it. We don't do it. But I'm pointing out that there's such a concept. So we have to keep the inspiration of Shavuos alive. Now, there's two interesting parshas in the parsha this week. One is called Sota. Sota is a woman who was suspected of adultery, and her husband warned her, "Hey, don't hang around this guy. He's a shady character. Yeah. So they bring her to the base of Mikdash, and she drinks this stuff. They take Hashem's name and they erase it. It's the only thing that we can erase Hashem's name for. They put it in the drink, and she drinks it. Now, if she was guilty, if she was innocent, then if she's guilty, she explodes, and the guy who she sinned with explodes also.
Did she explode?
Oh, if she was guilty.
Was she guilty?
It depends. Depends who it is. Now, if she was innocent, then everything was fine, and she would stay with her husband. Now, the Ramban writes that we don't have this anymore because this was a special merit for the Jewish people. When the Jewish people were very, very holy, and they were very careful about these things, about being pure and holy, and not doing these types of things, so there's a special portion of the Torah to make sure that it doesn't happen.
Yeah, you know what I started doing when I daven now? To enunciate every word, I use my finger for every word.
That's awesome.
Just so I can go slowly. That's what I say to myself in the morning before my honey gets up.
It's the best.
And when I do that now, I go nice and slow.
So now let's say you saw this Sota thing, right? You saw a woman, she did an Avera, and the person she committed the Avera with, and they died. Miraculously, it was a miracle. It was a miracle. They just drank something and died because they did a sin. So it's a very profound experience. Right? Imagine if you're walking down. Imagine this guy, right? Let's say in Boulder, Colorado, right? He was doing this thing to these people. He was throwing Molotov cocktails at the Jew.
Yeah.
Imagine if a lightning bolt would come out of the sky and strike him down right away.
That would have been great.
It would have been great, and it would have been a miracle. You would be inspired, like, wow, Hashem just punished this wicked person right away.
I wish that would happen.
Remember, you remember the video going around a few months ago where the guy in the Turkish parliament was bashing Israel,
Yeah.
and then he died of a heart attack as he was speaking?
Yeah.
So things like that, right? Those are very inspirational things. So you know what Rashi, he quotes the Medrash, you know what it says you should do if you see such a miraculous thing like the Sota? You should become a Nazir. A Nazir,
Yeah, I know.
a Nazir. Right, can't cut your hair.
So you gotta grow back to
I don't have any here.
Your long golden locks.
You gotta grow back to your ears.
So,
Just don't shave, don't cut it off, don't shave it.
I don't have any here.
a Nazir didn't cut his hair, he didn't drink
I
wine,
didn't drink wine.
and he didn't come in contact with a dead person.
Right.
So why does specifically he have to become a Nazir after seeing this procedure? Why don't you and I become Nazirs?
Yeah, why not?
It's a good question. Why specifically this guy? Why should he become a Nazir? So many of the Bali Musar explain that if you're inspired by something, but you don't do anything about it, then it's worse than if you never had the inspiration. He says every time you get a moment of inspiration, we have to take a practical step and do something with the inspiration. That's what the Torah is teaching us. It's a very, very important thing. So let's say you were came to shul in Shavuos, you learned Torah the whole night, you didn't go and eat the sushi like and press away, but you focused and studied Torah, you heard the laning in the morning, you didn't fall asleep, the rabbi inspired you, and you're all pumped. You're like, wow, this is great. So there's two types of people. One guy will say, that was a great experience, and that's it. But another guy says, you know what? I have to make a practical change in my life. I'm going to do something to become a better Jew. I'm going to every day dedicate 10 more minutes a day to study Torah. Or I'm going to work on becoming a kinder person to other people. Or I'm going to work on focusing on davening and putting my finger on every word so that it happens. It's called making a Kabbalah, taking something upon yourself. Because guess what? Inspiration, it always fades away. Right? No matter what. No one's inspired forever. So unless we take a practical step, the inspiration of what this person saw, the Sota, that'll fade away. The inspiration of Shavuos, that'll fade away. We have to do something practical with it. And do you know, what's the Rav Melech Biederman points out, the Alshich says, for the verse in the Torah says, V'achar yishtah nazar yayin. It talks about after. Right, most people just became a Nazir for like 30 days or whatever it was, and after the 30 days were over, they could drink wine again. So the pasuk says, "Ve'achar yishteh hanazir yayin," and after the Nazir would drink wine. So the Alshich says, wait a minute, if he's drinking wine, he's no longer a Nazir anymore.
Exactly.
Why is it calling him a Nazir? Right, why is it still calling him a Nazir? He says, because even if you accept upon yourself to do something and it doesn't last, but you accepted it and you did it for a little bit, that has everlasting effect on you. This guy's a Nazir only for 30 days.
Right.
But he says that's going to impact him for the rest of his life.
Can you be part of a Nazir, like don't drink wine?
You can do that, but you're not a real Nazir.
Okay.
Right? But people do that. There's people, it's very holy people. They even try not to eat too much kosher food. For sure they're not going to eat non-kosher food. But they don't want to be people that are always running after food. They don't want to be the guy at the kiddush who's like sprinting to get the kugel or whatever. I myself have trouble with this, right? It's hard. It's a good kugel.
I get trouble with that
But
too.
there's people that they want to focus their lives on Hashem, so they know that other stuff is a distraction. So they eat good food, they eat decent, but they don't run after the food. They are what's called, they're Polish themselves. They do precious. Rabbi Leiter, right? He's a holy Jew. Like Rabbi Leib Steinman used to eat like a piece of bread every day. He was so holy, and like all he was interested in was Hashem. Rabbi Feldman also. He doesn't eat a lot, right? Not because like he's against food. He's not interested in it. He's so
disciplined. They made it
right. They made themselves disciplined. And they're so focused on Hashem, like the other stuff doesn't matter.
What about your hair?
Achaya, what do you call it?
Yeah, right.
Right.
A fatter.
Pig.
But we hear what he's saying here. The Alshich is saying that even if you start doing it and it doesn't last forever, that still changed you as a person. That still made a change.
Yeah, sure, of course. Every day you learn something new, you're a different person the next day.
Right. You're a new person, like he's saying. He quotes a story here from Yechezkel Levenstein. He says there was a guy who was married for many years and he didn't have any kids. So Yechezkel Levenstein told him, I think you should accept that every day you're going to learn for 10 minutes Musar. Musar are Svarim, books about how to become a better Jew.
Salanta, Victor Miller.
Right. See, he does it already. Arnie's an expert.
So can you,
Let me tell you the end of the story. Right. That's what I'm quoting from right here.
So I can read a book on Musa that will be sufficient for I see him?
If you finish the whole book, yeah. But in the story, he told him to do this, and shortly thereafter his wife got pregnant. So he said, how did you know that would work? So he told him, he said, since you accepted upon yourself to do a mitzvah, you're a totally new person. So let's say Hashem didn't want you to have kids for whatever reason, that was the old you. But now you're a new person. Since you accepted to do a mitzvah upon yourself, now again, he didn't just do it. He accepted. He says, I am going to do this. So that makes you a new person. And that's why the decree that he wasn't going to have children was lifted. Now I don't know if that always works, but the idea is that when you accept something upon yourself, you're like a new person. A rabbi of mine said, Rabbi Einsteiner, that people, often we want to be better people and we accept to do things upon ourselves, but it doesn't last, so we feel bad about ourselves. But he says you shouldn't get discouraged, because he says somebody who tries, and let's say you just make, you accept that I'm always going to come to davening on time, always, every day, and then a week later you fail, whatever, it was too hard for you. So you feel bad about it. So you shouldn't feel bad, because the person who accepts upon himself to grow, he's levels and levels above the guy who doesn't even try. Because just the fact that you tried shows that you're a person who wants to get close to Hashem. That wanting to get close to Hashem is so much holier than the guy who doesn't even try.
Now, what book what would be the name of a book on Musa?
Musa, the best book, was also by this author, and it's called The Path of the Just, Mesilas Yesharim.
I got that one.
It's a great book. And he says, about that book? He says you should read it over and over and over again, because every time it's an amazing book. My Rabbi Feldman told me once that he got a call from a guy who wasn't religious,
right,
and he said he just read a book, and he said he couldn't sleep the whole night. It changed his life. He said, what book was it? He said, it's The Path of the Just. And Rabbi Feldman was surprised, because Rabbi Feldman's been learning this book since he was a little kid, so he knew it by heart almost. But someone who never saw the book, and you see that the Ramchal there is telling you a whole different way to live your life than everybody else in the world.
So if I read that book, that would be sufficient for students?
Yeah, in the Kolo, I think so.
You get it to Kolo.
Yeah, we got it. They have a very good one now by Art School, actually. My friend helped translate it. It's a very, very...
What's the name of the book?
The Path of the Just, but get the Art Scroll edition. The Art Scroll edition is very good.
So what's it called?
The Path of the Just, just the publisher's Art Scroll.
They have different publishers.
Yeah.
One Art Scroll.
So you just got to look at the one. I think they have it here. They might have it here. Rabbi Leiterowitz can show you. I think they might have it. But he starts, right?
That in the bookstore.
Right. Let's say, what do you do? Let's say that's talking about in general, right? How to become a better Jew. But let's say there's a specific area of Judaism you want to work on. So what do you do? How do you work on something? Right? You want to get better at something. What do you do? So I want to read here what the Rabbeinu Yonah says, and then what the Rambam says. Rabbeinu Yonah says like this. He says, this is actually from Pirkei Avos, right? Which says, "Haviratz mitzvah kala uborech min aveira." He says you should run to do a small mitzvah, and you should run away from a sin. Shemitzvah goreres mitzvah mikorach hatevu kihuzel. Why should you run to do a mitzvah? Because when you run to do a mitzvah, that becomes part of your nature to do mitzvahs. It becomes part of you. Ki ba'asas ha'adam mitzvah ketana. When a person does a small mitzvah, pam achas, hu mitzkarev es Hashem umargel es ruchel avodaso v'nikle be'einav lasos mitzvah acheres. When he does a mitzvah, he gets close to Hashem, and he becomes used to doing mitzvahs, and that means the next time, it's going to be easier for him to do a mitzvah. Just the simple act of getting out of your seat and putting $1 in the tzedakah box, not only does that make you closer to Hashem, but it makes it easier for you next time to do more mitzvahs. Because human nature is that when you do an action, it becomes easier to do that action in the future. So if you become a person that runs to do mitzvahs, it's going to become easier and easier. It'll become more natural for you to do mitzvahs, right?
Right.
Like playing basketball. How do you get better at basketball? You don't read books about playing basketball. You don't read books about strategy. You got to play. You got to practice.
Yeah.
The same thing with mitzvahs. It's a very simple formula, but it's actually quite difficult. It's challenging because
Now, what is putting on tefillin?
it's a big mitzvah. It's a big mitzvah.
Why is that?
Why is it a big mitzvah? It's a bit, well, first of all, because Hashem told us to do it, but also it shows that we are subjugating our bodies to Hashem, right? And it's a sign. It's a sign that we're the chosen people of Hashem.
I someone told me that it's 8 mitzvahs in the Bible.
8 mitzvahs?
4 and 4.
Oh, I thought it was 2.
Yeah, he said 8.
Okay.
4 for the head.
I'll have to look
and
into
4
that.
for the arm.
Look into that. Okay. But let's say going to Kollel to study Torah. So the first time that might be very hard to get up, to get an Uber, to go to Kollel, to sit, to open a sefer. It's very difficult.
I'm looking forward.
That's good.
That's going to be hard.
So that was a bad example, but there's certain.
I've been thinking about it for a long time. I spoke to you about this a long time.
Yeah, no, it's beautiful. So for certain people, it's difficult for, or whatever it is.
It's crazy.
Well, people have trouble doing certain mitzvahs, right? People have trouble getting up in the morning, let's say, to go to davening. All right.
I look forward to davening.
Or let's say, I know you're a mitzvah man, so it's hard for me to, get a good example. But trust me, there are people that have trouble doing mitzvahs.
I'm sure.
So how do you change that? You have trouble doing mitzvahs, and you know that you went to shul shavuos. You know that's not the right thing. I want to be a guy who loves mitzvahs. What should I do? You know what the Rebbeinu Yonah is saying?
Right.
Don't think about it. Just do it. Just do it. Just get up and do the act of going to shul. Don't worry about, you don't feel like it. You don't have the right. A lot of people think, I'm not holy enough to go learn Torah. I don't have the right intent. No, that's ridiculous. You get up and go, and it's very hard. Guess what? The next time gets a little easier.
Right.
It gets a little easier. Each time, it gets a little easier. And that's what the Rambam says when it comes to character traits. One of the biggest mitzvahs we can do, it's not even listed in the Torah as a mitzvah because it's the basis of everything, is to be a good person. To be a kind person, caring, merciful, humble, patient, calm.
Yeah, I try to do that towards my wife all the time.
That's shalom bayis. That's very important. So you know what the Rambam says to do?
What?
Let's say, for example, I know people like this. You drive too fast because you're
right.
So you know what you do? Drive slower.
Slow.
But it's hard. You're going to feel inside. It's going to be very difficult for you. But if you dedicate yourself every day to drive slower, eventually your insides will change and you'll be calm. Or let's say there's a guy in shul who always gets you upset, so you always yell at him. You know how you're going to get better at that?
Don't yell.
Don't yell, right? But you have to do it. The Rambam writes, you have to do it over and over and over and over. We only change the insides with the outer actions over and over again.
And how do you control yourself when you see somebody doing something bad?
It's a very good question.
What's that?
How do you control yourself when you're doing something bad? When you see someone doing something bad? I would say, you just say, you know what? I noticed that I'm very angry because this person is doing something that he shouldn't be doing against Hashem. And let's say I don't have the ability now to do anything about it, so I'm going to be quiet.
Are you allowed to say anything to that person?
It depends on the situation. If he'll listen to you, for sure. If he's doing it in public and it's a desecration of God's name, you should say it no matter what. It depends. Everything depends on the situation. But let's say there's something you can't do about it. Let's say there's a guy in shul. I don't know. Maybe he always coughs and he annoys you and he blows his nose or whatever. So it gets you angry. So you can have two options. You could say, this guy is such a jerk. Who does he think he is?
Or you move away.
Or you could always move away, right? You can. It's Yom Kippur. There's nowhere to go. It's too packed. Or you could say, you know what? This guy is annoying, but I came here to daven, so I'm not gonna waste my time thinking about that. I want to focus on davening right now. And eventually, you do that many times, you're not even going to notice it. And I just want to finish up. The Rambam says one thing. Let's say you're a very angry person. So you can't just go, you can't just train yourself to be normal. He said you have to train yourself to go the opposite extreme, to become like super calm. Because if you start out super angry, the only way you're going to be normal is if you train yourself to be super calm. Or let's say you're super stingy. Like you hate giving tzedakah, you can't even give a nickel. So you got to practice by giving like $10 each minion in the tzedakah box. Because then eventually you'll be able to give that $1. Then it won't be so right. If it kills you to give that to give tzedakah, you know how you make it feel better, how you change that feeling. You just every day you keep giving. Give $5. Eventually it's going to become natural, and you're not going to have that feeling of not doing it. So that's what I want to say. I'm going to say the inspiration of Shavuos. We still have some of the light of Shavuos. we're inspired, so we should do something with that inspiration by taking practical steps.
Right.
And we shouldn't let the inspiration go to waste, just like the Nazir and the Sota. And even if we fail, even if we aren't successful in what we decide to do, we become holier people just by trying. Hashem just wants us to do our best.
So, how do I get that